Step into video game land. Welcome to Fine Time.
Hello, party, people. It's your boy, Dre, goddammit. I'm sorry to cuss at you like 3 seconds after the show began, but I'm sorry, I just felt compelled, Steve.
Look, I'm just sitting down and you're already yelling. That's kind of rude.
As if you've never been... Kevin, he's been more rude on the air than any of us.
Yeah, Steve, goddammit.
You build to that, though.
You have to build to it.
There's an art.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You have not builded to it before. It's just burst out of you like an alien.
Well, that's how you peasants feel, but...
He did the Coastal Elite hand wave at us, you guys. You should have saw it. It was something.
The one you also make as a fellow Coastal Elite.
I would never do that. Californians never do that to anybody. This has never happened.
You do it inward. You do it to your own kind. You're all hicks that way.
Oh, we do. We don't give a fuck. Or at least we recognize the rest of our state. Unlike you think upstate New York may as well be in fucking another country.
It is another country. They know it.
Oh my God. So we're here to talk about one thing and one thing only. Men only want one thing, and it's fucking disgusting. And it's called Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Wonder. You're just gonna whisper it? I wonder how that's gonna sound when we.
I was echoing for you.
Okay, I'll see what happens. The audience will see.
You set me up for the layup, and I came in, and I dunked it.
I was trying to be professional and pause so he could play the reverbed Wonder, but no.
Now he can put reverb over my reverb. It's going to sound really fucking cool.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. So we're going to see how that sounds. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Man, I love when we get to come on here and talk about the one Nintendo game. As, we don't shortchange the big releases around here and of Nintendo's, and we are here to talk Wonder. Before we get rolling, though, I want to ask you guys a question, and then I'll tell you why I'm asking you this. Let's take it back to 2006 real quick, because can you guys remember, Steve, can you remember what your expectations were going into New Super Mario Brothers at that time?
I mean, I was hoping for something good. I mean, I was also thinking around that point that we weren't going to see new Nintendo platformers for some time. I mean, we saw Wario Land come and Kirby was trying, but what was Game Boy Advance doing? A lot of Mario Advance games, which were all Monkey Pod ports of older games. Like, yeah, here's more levels, but they all sound like shit on your Game Boy Advance. And I think it's funny to look at it now because, spoiler alert for 2006, I liked it, but it ended up feeling held back on purpose. But we've beaten the sterilization of Mario Horse to death. And I'm not going to do that anymore, especially since it seems like New Blood's about allowed to do whatever they want, it feels like.
Kinda, though, Kevin. We'll get to that in a second, though. Kevin, what did you... I mean, you're the youngest of us, so, what, as in your brain at the time, what were you thinking? Oh, man, the new Mario is coming, or...
Yeah, I didn't really have any expectations. I was fucking jazzed about it. I wasn't expecting a new 2D Mario, and it had definitely been enough time that it was exciting. So just, seeing the footage, I liked the art style. I like seeing, Mario eat the giant mushroom and get super big and tromp over everything. I just I was there, and I didn't need anything beyond just, new Super Mario Brothers. I didn't have a DS at that point, and I got my sister to chip in halfsies on me for a new shiny white DS Lite just to buy that game. And it was the first game we got for it. So I was pretty jazzed.
Yeah, see, I think you answered my sort of question I've thought about for years was that game really a system seller? And I think it was. People who are early adopters or just kind of going through 2004 and 5. Oh man, what's this Meteos about? Right? That's it's only a certain subsect of people, me. So I can imagine how that would sell everybody. Oh, I think shortly before or after that, Tetris DS also happened. I think Nintendo at that time was like kind of starting to bring the software.
I think it's notable too that time, like the throwback kind of reboot thing, it wasn't near like it was now. That wasn't something we seen. So it was, I think, a lot easier for them to kind of capitalize on nostalgia by just slapping new in front of something and showing Bowser burned into a skeleton and getting everybody worked up about it.
Well, that's how Mega Man 9 got by, even though it sucks, right? We weren't really doing that like retro shit at that time. But in 2008, it was like, oh man, it's just like the NES games I always played, even though I never played them. Let me play this, right? So it's kind of, it worked on everybody. New Super Mario Brothers, though, is a really good game, in my opinion. And the reason why I even asked this question, this is the point I want to start in on Super Mario Brothers Wonder, is that I feel like Mario Wonder is an extension of New Super Mario Brothers. It's New Super Mario Brothers 5. And I know people are going to hear that and groan or cringe, but like, honestly, it is. It's New Super Mario Brothers with a super fresh coat of paint. All anyone ever said about Mario or New Super Mario Brothers is like, what if it had an original style instead of just looking generic Mario? Well, here you got it. Here it is. And that's great. This isn't a diss. You guys know I love New Super Mario Brothers U, especially. I think that game is fantastic. So for me to say it's an extension of that is not a bad thing. They just made it feel as unique as possible, Kevin.
Yeah, I know you're not trying to like say that as a diss, but I do think that maybe you're shortchanging it with that statement because of all of the the wonder stuff that this game does. So I think I definitely understand the sentiment, and there's a lot of like core gameplay that is very New Super Mario Brothers there, but I think they elevate well beyond that formula where it is kind of its own thing.
Yeah, see, I'm not so convinced. Steve, when you come into a Mario game, especially with the exact same skill set as before, you still have the twirly jump. You still have wall jumping. You still have the spin jump, which you don't really use for anything. At least I don't. I don't know. To me, you still have the 3 coins every level that you get. I don't know, man. Feels like New Super Mario Brothers to me, Steve.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, what I'm going to complain about something very specific later, but I mean, what would you have changed before it becomes one of the other Nintendo side scrollers?
Nothing. I think this is perfectly fine. Nothing of what I'm saying is a complaint necessarily. I think this is kind of exactly what I thought it might be.
Let me try and rephrase Steve's question. What do you think they could have done to still make it a 2D Mario game, but truly differentiate it from the New Super Mario Brothers series at this point?
I'm not sure that there's anything, quite honestly. That's kind of a boring answer, but like, I don't know. I feel like, you know what? We'll circle back to that at the end. There's something, there's a point I want to make about that, but I think that'll be better served. I'd rather talk. Let's get into the game some more here, because like, here's something I really enjoyed about Mario Wonder. So Nintendo has had this lineage of weird humanoid races. We have Toads, we have Subcons, we have Pinatas, we have plenty of others, right, that I'm forgetting. Now we have Poplins in Mario Wonder. How do they rank in the pantheon of Nintendo weirdo races? Because for me, they're kind of creepy. It's weird that their head just turns into a flower pop when they get excited. It's a little creepy. I'd put them even below Noki's, Steve.
Look, I'm going to be honest. If it weren't for the little Easter egg on occasion where if you finish the level as Elephant Mario and he has water on him and he can water the flower and make it bloom that way, I wouldn't even remember them at all. They're just very forgettable, because I feel like the Flower Friends are the real breakout characters that everyone's going to remember in the canon. That I've named them Fred. They're Flower Fred because it sort of sounds like friend. Anyway, Flower Fred's the real character. I don't care about these these Poplins unless Namco shows up next year with Mario Baseball 3 and we suddenly have the Poplin team, and then Andre gets upset. Then we'll circle back to this.
I'm pretty sure the Wii version of the game had pinatas, if I'm not totally mistaken.
Oh, both versions had the Delfino teams.
Okay.
Both sets.
All right. Kevin, what's your hot take on Poplins?
It's hard for me to look at any of the new characters in this game as like part of the canon for the franchise. And I think that's just because some of, the franchise has been around for so long. Even if we look at, Super Mario Brothers 2 and Subcon, and it's got there's all of this like one-off shit in that game. I think just because it's so old, it feels established. I don't know for a franchise at this age. Do you think that these are going to be long-term? Are they going to be like remembered, or is it just going to be restricted to Mario Wonder and kind of hold a place in time?
I feel like they're going to be remembered. They always end up that way. I can't even if you can't remember the names of them. Like I don't remember the names of the star things from like Galaxy off the top of my head, but like I definitely was like, oh yeah, those guys, right? I feel like I will definitely think of Poplins.
I don't know. I don't know that they're not. I'm not saying they're not memorable. I just don't know that they're going to like really fit in as a core concept in the Mario franchise the way some of the older stuff would.
Like Toads or something. It remains to be seen. I think they will. I think people love this game. Good God, the reviews on this game. Just 10s across the board. I feel like the one publication that dared to give it an 8 was being so daring. Ooh, baby, right? That's also what I would give it, though. I'd give it like an 8 out of 10, Steve.
Yeah, that's about right. But again, I think that's a stronger criticism for later, just because, well, I don't know. Didn't you guys think it was a little easy?
It was too easy.
This was my fear. Remember, I said it. I was like, I feel like this is gonna be a little easy, and then you brought up the point, Kevin, of like, all the extra levels and shit like that they tend to do in Mario nowadays to put the hard stuff back there. And I'm like, that stuff is fun and fine, but they're also kind of gimmick levels. They're not like actual hard, just like Mario platforming levels, It's always like, here, you better like use this power exactly this, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff, which is, again, that's fun too, but not necessarily what I'm looking for at times from games like this. But I think those days are long past, unfortunately.
And I think they did to a degree, and I don't know how spoilery we want or can get with Mario Wonder. They do have some of those that aren't just gimmick levels, I would say. I think at the same time you need, maybe I'm biased in saying this. What I want to see is them gradually ramp up the difficulty for the main game to a certain level. Just to be like, there needs to be a certain barrier to finish this. But at the same time, my 6-year-old daughter is playing this and she's genuinely struggling with some of the levels in World 1, right? She just very rarely plays video games. So I guess it's, looking at it from that perspective, I can see why, a 6-year-old girl doesn't want that same barrier to finish that I do.
I can tell you why that is, Kevin, because around a decade ago, Nintendo liked to show off Virtual Console, among other things, at events and shit. And then they saw after child ran into the Goomba in Super Mario Brothers. And they're like, oh man, did we make a mistake with this? We gotta make it easy.
But everyone did that. I did that when I was a kid too. Who didn't do that? Oh, I'm just going to move forward. Oh, there was a guy there. Okay, let's try again. It's that repetition of it. But again, I'm not expecting kids to do that nowadays. 1985 was a very, very long time ago. The sensibilities are different.
Yeah, there's definitely just an attention span thing, because definitely when I was a kid, if you want to beat Mario 3, like you got to get good to a certain level to get through that game. It gets, much tougher at the end than something like Wonder does. But I don't know if my kids, when they got to the end, if they would, because there's just like a million other things you can move on to maybe.
Maybe, but also I feel like World 3 of Mario 3 is like way harder than anything in Mario Wonder before you even get to like a kid trying to get through like Piranha Plant Land or something like that now in Mario 3 without ever having like, I mean, come on, you know, that feels impossible compared to like what Mario Wonder throws at us, Steve.
I was kind of holding out hope like Kevin was too. No, the special levels, they're going to be super hard and or even a little hard, and that'll make it worth it. I appreciated that we could access them early if we found them on time, but none of them were particularly difficult. They were fun. I never stopped having fun until I finally found everything, but nothing was particularly difficult. I know. Aren't you too old to be playing video games then? Aren't you too old to being a judgmental prick?
Okay, let's not argue with invincible people and parents that we can't see right now, Steve.
To be fair, Steve and I had a little sidebar the other day. There is a very final level if you 100% this game that you can access, and I did find that level hard as fuck. Especially certain parts of it. I spent a very long time trying to get through that one.
The last part of that is just assholeish for the sake of being assholeish, but there's nothing that was naturally difficult. That one was there like, oh shit, maybe we should include something difficult.
No time limit is kind of weird, huh? I don't know how. I don't remember if other 2D. No, because New Super Mario Brothers U would have been it. No, this is the first time they don't have a time limit. Kind of strange, Kevin.
I think on one hand, because finding the hidden secrets of this game is so critical to the core design. So I think maybe having a time limit seemed counterintuitive in broad strokes to that concept. But I also think when they don't have the timer, they do have auto scroll stages still, and that does serve a similar function in a way. I mean, it's restrictive in a different manner as you have to like stay where they want you the entire way through the stage. But I guess in a way that they're still putting a time constraint only where they think it's applicable or where it fits the specific level design. So I'm totally fine with it. I do think that having that timer, even if it's a generous time, kind of gives a sense of urgency that maybe I don't want in a game like this where, you know, you really want to be like exploring, because there's some pretty like, you know, well hidden shit in some of these too that it's fun to find.
That is true. However, you know, okay, we were talking about difficulty, and this will tie into that too. My comp here is always Super Mario World. So Super Mario World, a game relatively made for beginners, it's definitely easier than Mario 3, right? New system, new players, etc. I guess was their thinking at the time. You can play that game and just go right through and have a good old Mario time. You don't have to look for a single secret or anything. You just go right through and beat the game. Great. If you want to look for stuff, the game really opens itself up to you. Big time. Not just in level design, but just in the game itself. You'll find so much more to do. And levels and other secrets and whatever. And that's a lot of fun. And I'm not saying Mario Wonder should be built exactly like that. However, Mario World had a time limit. They weren't often very tight time limits, but they did exist. And sometimes you'd be like, well, how do I find this other exit in this thing? And you hear that, that familiar, oh shit, what am I going to do? You know, that kind of tension matters, I think. And to not have that, even if there's very few situations where you will run out of time, I guess ultimately what I'm trying to say is I'm not against it as like a mechanic being gone, just as a game philosophy. It doesn't feel that's obvious they were focused on something else, and that other stuff they were focused on isn't necessarily better, Steve.
No, I was just going to say, it's like Kevin was saying, there's a bunch of Wonderflower set pieces that have a time limit element to them. Not obviously there's no clock, but I mean, you only get one shot to do this. So you kind of got to do this in a hurry. And I mean, that's there's your time limit, or some of them are just really fucking long. I mean, and not super long, but I mean, they're longer than what you would have given yourself in a Mario Maker level, for instance, to maybe finish. I just feel like having that clock in the corner would have been antithetical to that in this particular game.
I guess so. I would have liked to have seen. I would imagine that it was there early in development and they removed it, if I had to guess.
We keep running out of time on Piranhas on Parade.
What makes you think that? Why do you think that they had it initially?
Because of the length of the levels, and they're like no shorter or longer than like a new Super Mario Brothers. And it just kind of feels, like I said, I just kind of feel like it's an extension of that stuff, only done like crazy. So they probably just started with it because it's the Mario thing to do, and they probably thought, "Hey, what if we just don't have this, or only?" I'm
sure we'll never know, but I'm going to argue that point. I think that it was they felt it was a foundational decision to not have a timer in there to be able to explore, to find the wonderful wonder stuff.
You mean the wonderful stuff? No? Okay.
We're listening to the reverb.
Well, of course, it's not going to talk
over. I don't want to ruin every one of your reverb.
It's not going to be that long. It's just
well, you gotta put one in that one at least, or we're going to look like assholes.
It's just going to reverb, but it's going to sound like the Mario World caves. It's not going to echo forever and ever. It's just going to give you a little like.
Okay, we'll put an extra long reverb in that one. God damn it.
Oh my God. I don't even know how to do that. Okay, if I can figure that out, I will.
Mr. I edit the shows has all the creative control.
Yeah,
tries to make us look bad.
Yeah,
with reverb usage.
Oh, yes, that's the way I make you look bad. Reverb usage. That is exactly my plan. You figured me out. You got me.
What a fucker.
Okay, can we talk about Bowser Jr.? Because I feel like we have like some stuff to say individually here. So let me start here, and this will be my lead in. I loved at the beginning of the game, this made me laugh out loud at how stupid it was, where he just the text literally just says, "Oh yeah, my dad's a castle now." It's like, why do you think that's cool? That's so stupid.
My dad, I don't know, if my dad was a castle, I'd fucking tell everybody.
I guess so.
You would just walk around and ignore the fact that your dad is a castle? I don't think so.
Oh man.
You mean your dad works at the castle? No, my dad's the fucking castle.
He is the castle. Kevin, I feel, has like some Bowser Jr. thoughts. Why don't you kind of get us going here?
Yeah, I guess if we're getting into the bitching about the game part, and I don't have a lot to bitch about. I love this game, but they put so much effort into everything here. There's so much imagination and creativity. But you got Bowser Jr. as the fucking boss of every world. Like they kind of mix those battles up a little bit, but like, I don't know. I found that like very disappointing, and like fairly early on, by the second or third Bowser Jr. fight, I was like, okay, I know they're like trying to put some wonder into this, but like, they could have. It's been enough time that bringing back the Poplins would have been great, or bring something new. Like I would have been super excited to finish every world and get to the last stage if I knew that there was something like really interesting and crazy. And every time it was just fucking Bowser Jr. at the end. The like airship levels halfway through some of the worlds were more interesting than a lot of the end levels because of just the repetition of Bowser Jr.
You know how annoyed I was getting with Bowser Jr. going, ha, ha, over and over again at the end of every world? There are two worlds where they decide, you know what? The last level here, that's the boss. Here's your Wonder Seed. I had more respect for that than I did for anywhere where there was Bowser Jr.
Oh, yeah, because some of them is like, hey, you want that Wonder Seed? Go ask the Elder for it. He's through this entire world. And then you get there and you ask him for it, and then he gives it to you. And then you just go to the next place. It's like, okay, I guess. I didn't mind that though. That was fun. It does
a
kind
nice
of
break from Bowser Jr.
Well, yeah, it's a nice break. I don't know if they like it might have been a time constraint. Maybe they couldn't have thought of any other mediocre Bowser Jr. fights.
Look, it was already a big step making you jump on him 4 times instead of 3.
Man.
Which is why, look, and they put so much energy into the airship levels. Look, we're gonna make a metal version of the airship music we pretended to make for Mario 1 and Mario Maker, and then we're going to make it so you just jump on a button at the end.
That sucked. That really sucked.
So you're going to make it hard to get to the button once you get to the room. No, you're just going to run up and hit the button.
That sucks. That was so bad. Honestly, that's like the worst thing in the game, I think.
I think I just found that like aesthetically more interesting. Like the fucking like chomping Bowser with the, all the shit sliding towards you. Yeah.
Just do Boom Boom then. Just do Boom Boom. I think.
Well, that's why they got Bowser Jr. in there.
But don't make me just step on a switch at the end of I don't know, man. That's the worst aspect of the game, I think, Steve, for sure.
I don't know. For me, it was just bunch of little things like, why are we still playing on the flagpole? Oh, because it's Mario Bros. Okay, I know. But so yeah, in Mario World, if you really needed more of a hint that more was going on at the surface, they gave you a little red dot to play with. Okay, there's definitely more than one way to leave. Here, we kind of just have to guess. There's a way. There might be more than one way through. Yeah. And if you really want answers, you got to pull up a sort of list mode, which is very unwonder-like, by the way, and look for a blue check mark under everything. Where's the wonder and whimsy in that? And speaking of a game, lacking whimsy in a game full of it otherwise, why are elephant characters and Yoshi's carrying things by hand? And why is, I mean, okay. Yeah, and why is, Bowser Jr. still doing all these world things? I know, it's because Yoshi games and Wario games have the interesting boss fights in the Mario universe. Then make those games. Please make me more of those games.
What the hell is going on? What are you talking about?
No, you know what? I didn't notice the elephants not carrying stuff with their trunk, but now that Steve mentioned it, I'm mad about it too. That's a totally valid
They have to carry stuff with their hands so it looks consistent with everyone else carrying stuff with their hands. If Yoshi just carries stuff in their mouth or whatever, that's not like an indicator.
We did it in World. It was fine. We all lived.
Yeah, we don't need consistency. We want whimsy.
We have plenty of whimsy.
We want wonder.
No, we have Wowie Zowie. No, I feel like you guys are giving me. I feel like you're just not helping me today. Do the show.
Put in a little bit of reverb after that Wowie Zowie. It'll be fine.
Fuck off. Well, since I said it, a lot has been made of the new voice actor for Mario. We're not the type of show to give a shit about that. Whatever, a Mario voice is a Mario voice. However, if you want to say he had his first signature moment, Wowie Zowie, Steve, is it. By the way, is that like a distinctly American phrase, Wowie Zowie? I feel like no other like English speaking country says that.
I'm pretty sure you're right, because I LOL'd pretty hard when you even put that in the show notes. That's definitely distinctly American, because I've never heard anyone say Wowie Zowie. I thought Mario Wonder invented that.
No, you know what? I think the world is going to cling to it now, because the world clung hard when in 1996 we had Let's-a Go and Mamma Mia and Do All Your Homework. And I only made that last one up, obviously. So, Wowie Zowie is one we can hand distinctly to Kevin Afghani, who needs a win as the new guy, because we've all been very mature as fans for the past year or so with the new Marios and different Marios. Isn't that right?
Can you guys give me a example of how you would use Wowie Zowie in actual context in the real life? What position would life put you in where you would actually say Wowie Zowie to somebody?
It's an exclamation of getting something cool. Golly gee whiz. Wowie Zowie. It's like a mid-century, like, kind of exclamation.
Did you ever like get a Christmas present and say, wow? What about, especially as an adult, did you ever get a present and say Wowie Zowie?
By the 1980s, Wowie Zowie was out of fashion.
Fine Time has 100 million subscribers. Wowie Zowie!
Yeah. By newsletter. I mean, that's what you would have to have mid-century, right? In the age where you might say Wowie Zowie. The Fine Time newsletter.
When did we stop saying Wowie Zowie?
Well, it was definitely by the time I was born. So, I mean, it's an old-timey phrase, I guess, to answer Kevin's question. It's not something we really say nowadays.
All right. Maybe that's why I don't know it.
Look, he's bringing it back. He's going to bring it back.
That's why I made the very funny joke on our social media of posting the Pavement record from 1995 called Wowie Zowie, saying it was the Mario Wonder soundtrack, which made me laugh and only me. But okay, look. Let's take a break. We're going to talk about our favorite Wonder Flower set pieces, music, and other stuff in just a second. We are back. I want to start here as we do the second half of our Wonder talk. I gotta praise the music. The music is absolutely fucking insane. It is so good. It's some of the best Nintendo music I've heard in a long time. I put it up there with Odyssey. I'd say it's as good. I think the music in Mario Wonder is crazy. I mean, I could go into any number of my favorites, but I can't play them here because we'll probably get in a lot of trouble. So just do you guys agree? I mean, let's just, before I move on.
I find that interesting. I like certainly found nothing bad about the music, but to be personally, it didn't like strike me as memorable. But now, even just hearing you say that in such high regard, maybe I should go back and listen with a critical ear. Maybe it just like fits in so well with everything.
Yeah, I think it's incredible, Steve.
Well, I was listening to the music, Kevin, and I think it is good for the reason. Wow.
Sorry, I'm fucking deaf.
Wow.
Well, you're not supposed to listen to Slayer while playing Mario Wonder, Kevin. Wow, where did that come from? Anyway.
Oh my God. Y'all gonna have to make up later.
No, yeah. It's got atmospheric music and it all fits in with what's going on. It's near perfect.
Atmospheric though? You don't think of it like on its own as like a thing?
I mean, it can, but I mean, I think it's helpful to remember what I was doing when the music was playing.
Oh my fucking God. So the sound effects are equally excellent. And this is really important. And this is something that's really shitty about Sonic Superstars is that what? I didn't even say it yet.
No, keep going.
What? No, I gotta know now. Like, what just happened?
I thought we're talking about Mario Wonder. It's like, what really sucks about Sonic Superstars? It's like, no, sorry.
Okay, well, as you look up the word analogy on the fucking internet, I will continue with my analogy that Sonic Superstars, it just uses the Genesis sound effects, like, exactly, and it's boring, and it kind of sucks in that regard. The music in Sonic Superstars is excellent. It's really let down by, wow, I've heard this sound effect for over 30 years, and here it is again. Yeah, the sound effects in Mario Wonder are like familiar. You still have a pipe sound, you have a coin sound, you have a jumping sound, etc. But they're all new, and that matters. Think about, I don't know if you guys are old enough to think of it this way, but when Super Mario World first came out, it blew my mind hearing the new sound effects, the new coin, the new jump, the new everything, right? And the stuff that was actually new, like the spin jump or the cape sound or something like that. That stuff still I think of as like maybe my favorite Mario like sound effect set. This rivals it. I love when Mario jumps in Mario Wonder now. It sounds like almost like a Kevin, like a slide of a guitar almost, like it's just sort of bends up like this. It's not like the usual like boing like a spring. It almost sounds like someone's playing it on an instrument, which I find very appealing. Elephant Mario's feet sounds like a dribbling basketball. Anyone else ever notice this?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like this cool, like it's like this light and airy sound that's coming from like a heavy ass elephant. So it kind of, I don't want to say subverts your expectations, but it gives you a lighter touch that you wouldn't necessarily expect. You expect this kind of rumbling, stompy thing, right? But that's not exactly what it is because Mario's nimble and light. So it works. I love the sound design in Mario Wonder. It might actually be my favorite aspect of the game.
I think that just speaks to how well sound effects have been across Mario, because you're talking about the jump from NES to Super NES and World. Well, they never really stopped iterating on the familiar sounds along the way. No, I wasn't there in 1991 to transition there, but I was there in 1996 to transition from World to 64, and even Mario RPG, where they had those same familiar sound effects, but not quite so, but different, and steadily improving as we figured out what was going on, and Sunshine and moving and on, and they just never stopped iterating. Unlike where you pointed out with Sonic, where it's the Genesis, it's the one everyone likes. Let's just keep using those.
It's kind of disappointing. Go ahead, Kevin.
I think here, even just beyond iterating, like you can really tell that they wanted this to feel like very distinct. Again, probably because of all the shit they took for, burning the hell out of the new Super Mario Brothers franchise. But even, it's kind of akin to where Mario makes like the little frown when he's running. I think the same with the sound effects in this game. They wanted it to really, stand apart as its own distinct thing.
I've talked about this on the show before, but I think it's hilarious how sick of New Super Mario Brothers everyone got, where there hasn't been one in 11, 12 years, and everyone's like, we're burned out. we don't want it.
Well, and to be fair, if they would have been like, enough time has passed, let's do New Super Mario Brothers 5, I would have been like, I don't know, I'm not, I sure wouldn't have been as jazzed for it as I was about Wonder.
Especially after 2 Mario Makers.
Do we want to get back to bitching? I don't want to get too far from bitching.
Okay, I praise the music and everything a lot and sound effects. Okay, we can get back to bitching.
Yeah, let's knock it down a peg here. My absolute most hated part of this game is the search party levels. I fucking hated them. And you know what really pisses me off? Like, a game like this, I would never ever want to look something up online for, like, ever. It would be if I can't do it, then I'm just not going to do it. And I wound up looking where the last hidden coin thing was on the last search party level, because I just did not give a fuck anymore. It's not that I think that there's no place for, that kind of design where it's like, try everything until you can find a really well hidden secret. But that works in like Zelda, where you've got a fairly open-ended set of options that you can explore, right? Your moveset here is very restricted, and I was so fucking mad at these courses by the end. Like, I was not having any fun, and I really wanted to just do it on my own, but I was just like, I felt degraded by the last one.
Kevin, look, I'm wholly with you. The thing is, it's in the name, search party. They obviously wanted us to play these with 3 other people.
But
I do no, and I'm with you. You know why I'm with you? I do a podcast with 2 other guys. That's the extent of people I know personally that are playing this game this year. Probably, I'll be surprised if someone walks up to me and said, "No, I played Wonder 2." And even if I didn't, let's go back to the decade-ish ago when I did play New Super Mario Brothers Wii with a bunch of people in a row. If they had Search Party in there, we would have been like trying to skip that shit as soon as we can. Hey, is this shit optional? Yeah. Okay, we're not doing this anymore. We're going back to throwing each other into pits.
yeah, I don't care how warm I feel towards the party I'm with. I don't want to fucking play these levels with them. I don't want to play them by myself. I don't want to play them ever. They suck.
They're bad. It's weird that something weirdly that bad is in the game. Okay, and this also struck me and it happens early on, and it made me go, "Oh no!" And these are also weirdly bad. Those like music levels. I hesitate to call them music levels, where they just play a classic Mario song while you collect a few things. And then it plays the end of it. Well, I think the first one I came across was like the Super Mario World bonus theme. I was like, why? Why? Oh man, at
least those were like so quick though. Like they were like decidedly short, and then it was over and done with.
I guess so, but I just was like, guys, you can do better than that, Steve.
Yes, the good thing about those levels in particular is that they were very, very mercifully short. I think they even called them like little breaks or short breaks or something like that, where it was really meant to like, it's just a little thing. Don't worry about it. You're going to be done in like a second. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. And then we play the Isle Delfino theme, where it's fun.
Yeah, I don't understand that either, Kevin. It was weird.
They felt a little bit like pandering.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, there is some great callbacks, though. And there's a couple I don't want to say because they feel kind of spoilery. But the KO Arena music, I don't know if you guys caught this, but it plays the Mario Brothers round start jingle. Every time you get into the it plays it again. Every time you start a new arena, I felt smart for me picking up on that, because usually if like something is in a really new format, there was something Steve picked up on that I didn't pick up on at all. And I was kind of embarrassed I didn't.
Oh, well, I mentioned it earlier in my rant, but they and it took me a minute too, because it's hidden under a lot of heavy metal and whatever. But the airship they took from the quote unquote Super Mario Brothers 1 airship that they stuck in Mario Maker. Yeah, I'm like, that this is neat that this is in the canon now, kind of the background. And I'm going to Andre talking about this in the side check since he finished the game in 2 hours, as he does.
Yeah,
he's like,
exactly. 2 hours.
And he's like, "What are you talking about, Steve?"
I didn't notice. It was so metal. It was just so transformed. Like I said, if something is in something like a way different format like that, it's not something I pick up on. But I did notice the KO Arena music jingle, though I didn't notice it the first time. It took a few of them for me to catch on.
You didn't notice them playing a little night music like they do in Mario Brothers either?
No.
Do 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 do. No. Okay. Which I can absolutely do because it's in the public domain. All right.
Did not notice that. The post-level screenshot thing is a great idea. I mean, like, maybe it's because I didn't 1,000% the game or anything, but if there should have been some sort of gallery of that kind of stuff, you kind of just see it at the end of the level and then that's it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded being able to save them at least, but I didn't see a way to do that.
I don't know, Kevin, did you give that any other thought? I thought it was kind of weird that they had such a good algorithm for it, but then nothing else really happened with it.
Yeah, it was definitely good at picking up highlights of the level. I would have assumed, I didn't go, digging around outside of, in the menus too much, but I would have assumed that there was a way to find a gallery of that, but I guess not.
Speaking of digging around, you all told me, no, Steve, I know you don't play Mario with people or compete online, but everyone's gonna love online. Well, you know what? I barely realized it was there.
Nobody has said that. Not a single person said that.
I barely realized it was there, and I never turned it on once. Did any of you turn it on?
No.
At all?
Not a time.
I haven't, but I think that there's some meat on the bones there for me, just because I like that kind of like speed run, competition type stuff with 2D platformers like this. Maybe Vin and I'll get into another, contest like we did with some of Andre's Mario Maker levels.
I can't believe you guys turned my shit into a track meet. I'm grateful. You really inflated my numbers. I appreciate it. But
I love how it includes every single individual play from every single person.
It's so weird that happens.
Even if it's the same person.
Well, not always, but if you play it enough, it will count again. It doesn't count every single one, but it does do multiples at some point. It will, for quote unquote, forget that you played it. Okay, we've babbled long enough. Favorite Mario Wonder flower. Your favorite Wonder flower sections from the Super Mario Brothers Wonder game. Who wants to go first? Because you know what? Fuck it. I'll go first. My favorite is definitely the dragon bones turning into a real dragon. And then it turns back into bones.
That poor dragon.
And it's like, oh no. It made me feel a certain way. I'm not even going to lie. It definitely did something to me. So those were definitely my favorites, I think.
For me, it was the Ninja Jump Party. I really liked that one, and I just had a lot of fun. It was designed very well, and it felt really good when you were nailing that rhythm. Yeah. And then on top of it, just aesthetically, it had this whole like Middle East theming. I guess I don't know how to describe it. It just looked cool. It sounded cool. It felt good to play. That one really had a lot of character.
Yeah, for sure, Steve.
Hi. I'm sorry. I got to make a small confession. I knew we were going to get, I thought we were going to get special ones, but nothing prepared me for Piranha Plants on Parade the first time I saw it, especially since it was level 2 of the game.
It's insane.
Like even Fredzel, are they singing? They're singing. And I thought, okay, we're either really in for some shit, or they already blew their load, and thankfully it was the former.
There was a lot of musical numbers though in this game. It happened a lot.
Mm-hmm. I would fail to be spooky adjacent if I also failed to mention King Boo's opera. That was fun too. I just liked other ones that felt like they were trying to play with the conventions a bit, like Bull Stampedes, where, the flagpole gets knocked over. Oh, no. And you got to find the real one later. Or levels where water and land switch places. Or other ones where here's a bunch of Lakita with a bunch of goodies. Or, oh, no, all the gravity's gone and we're flying upward. Just anything where Fred's punctuated with different reactions varying of, did you see that shit? And, extra credit to ones where they also end with, so you're alive.
I love that you named him Fred. It's perfect.
There was this one in particular. Which one was I going to? I'm sorry, that's not the ones anymore, but there's a handful of ones where you go to the front of the screen or the back of the screen, either one, and you're walking past the real flagpole. Hey, where you going? I mean, the exit's over here.
How did you get over there?
Why'd you get...
Even just in itself, anytime you went into the foreground of the screen, I know that's a pretty simple and already used trick, but I'm a simple man and it tickles me every time.
They should do more of that. I loved it when you went into the background, quote unquote. I love that shit. I wish they had done it more, honestly. In this era of fast loading on PS5 and Xbone and stuff, we've talked about how Switch games load so much and we kind of feel it nowadays. I mean, we always kind of did, but now especially in the last like few years we do. And we definitely did, Steve, when we played Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, like it's unavoidable for a game like that, but we're spoiled now, right? I didn't feel that at all while playing Mario Wonder. This game is snappy. Like you load up that list and it's like, oh, I want to go to this stage in this world. I mean, it does load, but it's pretty fast. And I don't want to like spoil, but there's some stuff near the end, and I think you guys know what I'm talking about, where they kind of throw the kitchen sink at you, and all those elements aren't individually, I mean, like it's streamed in so perfectly into one seamless level, one seamless course. It's really impressive, honestly. This is a big old optimization flex by Nintendo, and I thought I'd shout that out, Kevin, because it's really impressive what they've done here.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely did specifically notice that as well, going into the list and moving around to levels. Like it never feels intrusive at all, and certainly not like you would expect it to from the Switch.
Yeah,
especially after Zelda and Pikmin 4.
What, Pikmin 4 loads a lot? It's like really long?
I mean, it can, or it feels like it can. Depends. Well, I mean, I'm sure it's normal, but in this day of PS5, I'm like, this could be faster. where I'm being a PS5 snob.
I mean, it's hard not to feel it nowadays, It's a lot.
I'm getting older, Andre. I mean, not as old as you, but I'm getting older. So yeah, we did a lot of complaining, but I also want to praise the art style a bit more in particular, because after this year in particular, I feel like it would have been the easiest thing in the world for Nintendo to just call up Tosei and like, look, we need to have Super Mario Brothers, the movie, the game, out for November. And they didn't do that.
Did you make that joke only for me? Nobody knows who Tosei is.
Oh, come on. If you're listening to us, at least 3 of you should know who that is.
I will give Kevin 14 guesses as to who Tosei is. He will never tell me.
I know I have heard you guys drop Tosei before, so that's the extent of my knowledge. It's a Steve and Andre thing.
What, do you think we made them up?
Wow,
well, not necessarily.
That is so accusatory. I guess that, like, honestly, I know this is going to make me sound like a trash lord. Super Mario Brothers, the movie, the game, like pre-rendered sprites or something, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I mean, that's like a really good base to draw off of. I mean, I'm not saying they should do that. I'm just saying that, like, if that were to happen, I don't know.
You're right. I do think you're a trash lord for saying that. I think that's a fucking terrible idea.
While I don't think you're an absolute trash lord for saying that, I do remember a time when Sony literally made Ratchet and Clank the movie, the game, and you played it on the show and you weren't happy with it.
It sucked. It wasn't very good. I shouldn't say it sucked. It was just boring. It was just really boring. But yeah, that's the most boring way you could do something like that.
I have to say, when this was first showing off, I do remember on the show saying I wasn't completely sold on the like super animated faces in Mario's little angry run, and I am happy to report that that wound up fitting really good, because I don't feel like the art style is so pushy that it's invasive with this. Everything complements the way it looks, and I think that's what I was worried about, that they were going to try and like shoehorn so much character into it that it was going to feel overbearing, but it still feels very 2D Mario as it should. And I also do have to say, I think this game is the best case I have seen, hands down, for playing on a Switch OLED, because I wound up playing this mostly in handheld for that reason. It looks fucking great.
So, Kevin, do you mean overbearing like a Wowie Zowie that you never had in Canada before, apparently?
I didn't want to be like focusing the whole time on them trying to like show off extensive animations that we hadn't seen, to the point where it would detract from the experience.
I mean, this isn't Donkey Kong Country. I mean, Jesus Christ, they're going to let you actually, like, you're not going to have to sift through like 14 million frames of rolling before you get to jump or something like that.
He counted all of those, by the way.
Yeah, 14 million. I loved all the little animations. It really sold me on the world. I mean, everyone's talked about the facial animations, but the enemies too. Like the Koopa Troopas just sort of, they were just ambling about their day until you get close to them and they just kind of squinty eye you. especially when you're about to jump on them, that looks like really funny because they're like that face is just really angry. Like, bro, really? Like you're gonna, yeah. So it's really good stuff. But other than that, if you're not even near them, just the way they just kind of that sort of blank expression on their face is kind of like, well, I'm just hippity hopping to the store here. No, they're not. There's no Koopa paratroopers, is there? There's no para anything.
Well, no, because we're in the Flower Kingdom, and other than the expats from Bowser's people, it's a lot of indigenous species of what's going on here. So you got them snail guys and other things filling in the gaps, and I think they're all pretty interesting too.
They are good. It's just that like some of those like quote unquote harder enemy types add to what I was talking about earlier of like making just a course have a little bite to it. I think I remember like 2 courses with Hammer Brothers. It's just like, okay, I mean, whatever. Anyway, well, guys, I feel like I don't know. We're all kind of wondered out. I feel like Kevin, though. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, we kind of started with this, and I think it's a good way to round out the discussion. In terms of 2D Mario, do you think that they did wind up like where they should be with that franchise at this point, or do you think that they could have or should have done something with a bit more of a foundational overhaul than just the unique art style and having a big gimmick for every level?
I guess I'll start. I think the real answer to your question is that I don't think we need to keep making these, as in like Mario Wonder type of games. I feel like this is a one-off thing. I'm sure they could come up with like, here are some other wacky ideas presented in this way, but I don't think they should. We've maxed out 2D Mario with Mario 3. Mario World is as a take on Mario 3, as fresh a take as possible, obviously, adds a bunch of secrets, resets the mechanics for beginners, as we talked about earlier. Great stuff, but like they hadn't really tried since then, and New Super Mario Brothers is intentionally unambitious, right? So they're not even trying to like go for anything crazy. And Wonder follows that idea up of like, what if New Super Mario Brothers were just kind of not just a generic art style, but where cool shit happened? And the result was really good. Again, I feel like people were actually asking for this. That like Van Gogh level in New Super Mario Brothers U, and everyone just always like, well, why can't the game look like this, right?
Yeah.
Now it does look like that. Now we actually have interesting, if you will, stuff to look at. I heard that complaint a million times, and I feel like Nintendo did too, obviously. So now we're here. We don't really need to follow it up, Steve, if you ask me. I feel like this can kind of be it for that.
Here is a good place to be, but at the same time, if we see Super Mario Bros. Wonder 2, like a year or so into Super Switch, I'm not going to be happy. My dumbass is going to buy it, but I'm not going to be happy about it. But like I muttered above, I remembering that Yoshi and Wario also like side-scrolling outings sometimes, and letting their freak flag fly might be the answer. But I don't think we can really hold our breath for too much of that. Especially if they look. Just don't give Yoshi to Arzest again. Let's not do that more than once.
Well, they gave Sonic to Arzest, and it turned out okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to talk about Sonic Superstars here. Sorry, I forgot.
Some of us were just making a joke, Andre. Jesus Christ.
No, I'm very offended by this. Okay.
Well, I'm mostly with you guys. I don't. I definitely don't want to see Mario Wonder sequel anytime soon, if at all. But I don't know that I want to see the death of 2D Mario either. I think it's not necessarily what they do with the formula, but have it be a very rare thing. We don't need 2 games per console cycle doing 2D Mario. And I think the answer with that is that they can supplement 2D Mario with like 2D Mario adjacent titles that are their own thing. Super Mario Maker 100% achieves that, and so I think that's a great way to do that. I hope we haven't seen the end of Mario Maker either. Again, just don't overuse anything.
Yeah, I think that's the important part. It's just that I guess it's impossible, right? Because it's Mario. It's almost impossible standards to live up to. But like, are they really? I guess is what I'll leave us with before we go to break, is because like, if I'm making a top 10 of like my favorite games of all time, surely 3 of those games for me, it's going to be Mario 3, Mario Galaxy, and Mario Odyssey. Right? 3 different Mario games from different eras. One's 2D, 2 or 3D, right? So, like, Mario can obviously top itself. Mario Wonder doesn't quite get there. But if your starting point is New Super Mario Brothers, and I feel like Mario Wonder is an extension of that, in a lot of ways, your ceiling can only be so high. So as cool and as like full of ideas as Mario Wonder is, I feel like I would want for them, if they were going to do 2D Mario again, to break it all. Break everything. Like maybe have like a full-on action-adventure kind of game with Mario. Maybe like don't have flagpoles or courses, or just break the entire thing structurally. Because that's something Mario Wonder does not do. Break it structurally. It needs to do that for me to think like, okay, we've really moved there. I'm not sure that Nintendo wants to do that, but I think we're all wondered out. Excuse me. I might as well do it one more time before break. I think we are wondered out.
Wowie Zowie.
I wish I had some sort of like slide whistle or clown honking noises. It sounds like that's what Wowie Zowie deserves. I like that they threw in the different takes. It's not always the same Wowie Zowie, if you noticed. There's like a few different takes. Yeah, which I did enjoy. Anyway, we'll be right back, and we're going to have a couple big questions.
You're coasting with Fine Time.
We're back. We have a big question. I don't know if it's the big questions. I don't know if I could say plural. I don't know. I'm sure we'll run into at least one more after this. But Steve, let's do our big question.
Yeah, Nintendo's been coming out with hit after hit this year, and that's good. But, I've played Pikmin 4 already, and we've all played this Super Mario Wonder game. And my big note about the two of them in particular is that they're very, very easy. Like, they're almost leaving us behind a little bit. So my question is, do we think, as Nintendo is moving on to its next console, whatever they call it, because we love to speculate on this show, because just announce the damn thing already, they benefit from some sort of, for super players, line of games, or at least DLC for those of us that just want a little bit more push from, the games we're playing.
I don't think DLC is the answer unless you meant like DLC to turn it to a certain difficulty level. Because DLC of just like, here is some other content that is of a particular difficulty level, it's the same problem as Mario Wonder and other games like it, where it's just like, we're going to stick all the hard stuff over here. It's not going to really be part of the game. It's just over here if you search for it. And I feel like that's not great. I want the entire difficulty level of something to rise. So I don't know if strictly DLC is the answer. But Nintendo used to be a lot better at this, I think. Like, one thing I always have praised Yoshi's Story for on this show is that it has a very organic choose your own difficulty curve that's built into the gameplay itself. You can just eat 30 fruits in any level and move on with your life. That's what any kid would do or whatever. You can search for the 30 melons in every level, which is really hard to do and hard to do on a single life, if you will. So there's a lot of challenge in that. Or you can kind of just play it however you feel like. Like when I play Yoshi's Story, I look for as many melons as I can. I usually get like 20-ish or something like that. If I'm really close, it's like, okay, I'll find the other 3 melons or something like that, right? But you don't have to. And if I'm sick of searching, it's like, oh, here's a few grapes, I'll munch on those. Okay, the level's over. Nintendo used to do that a lot more. And it's like I said earlier about Mario World, Kevin, in which like you can just play the game quote unquote normally, not search for a single thing and have a great experience, a pretty easy experience too, of just like, okay, you know, but if you want to search for all the secrets and stuff, you can, and that's where the difficulty lies, not just searching for them, but the actual levels you find when you do that. And Mario Wonder has a little bit of that, but not much. And that was their big compromise for lessening the overall difficulty from Mario 3, and it was brilliant. So I don't know why we can't do that nowadays. I'm not even saying Mario Wonder, Kevin, should have been particularly like that. I don't know if like with the Wonder Flower stuff it would have fit, but I feel like something can be done besides here's the special world where we have hard stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree with the Super Mario World take. I think directly compared to Wonder, like you said, there was more of it, but it also felt maybe more organic, or just like better implemented, where it wasn't kind of like find these things. These hard levels are like here in this spot on the side. It felt like it was kind of more like weaved in throughout. I don't think that Nintendo has lost like difficulty, like built into the game that you can avoid if you want, into games that you can avoid if you want, as a whole, right? Tears of the Kingdom Gleeok fights, I think is a good way to go with that. But maybe they've kind of lost sight where it's necessary. I think Wonder being, you know, kind of a marquee title, it was definitely the most common criticism that did pop up for mainstream reviews for that game, I think. So I just hope that maybe they'll take that feedback and realize that this is something that people want as an option for, you know, all of their marquee titles. If you're not going into a game knowing it's expected to be easy, then, you know, make sure it's got a little bit of teeth to it.
Yeah.
You know why I'm really worried about this? I'm worried about in another year or so, I'm picking up my Super Switch, and I finally have my copy of Metroid Prime 4, and we just roll right through it.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried about the same thing. And again, I'm not asking for like controller throwing really pissing me off difficulty. It's just that like the fear is the fun, I guess is the best way I can put it. And that's what I always say about like, it's the thing I always say to people who complain about the conventions of old games, not understanding game design, of like, why can't we continue as much as we want? Or why do we have a certain amount of lives? Or how can because that's literally the game. Yeah, I'm not saying it's fair that when every single game limits your continues. There is some where we just make our own, Steve. But like, but like, there's a reason why they were made that way. People see it as a bug instead of a feature. No, this was this way because reasons. Well, it's archaic some might say it's archaic for platformers to have lives. It's an archaic genre. Like that's how this entire thing was built. So if you start removing stuff like a time limit or like this and this here and there, if you start taking away, at some point you're going to be left with something a little bit limp in the department of difficulty. So yeah, I hope, I don't know, Metroid Dread wasn't easy, right? So we can hope that Metroid Prime 4 won't be either.
I feel like that's a franchise that they wouldn't be able to make it too easy. I think they'd be cognizant that they know that's a franchise that, you know, it's only the fans that are buying it in the first place.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, if it's launching with a console, like we keep thinking it might, or I keep thinking it might.
It's gonna. And what a weird way to launch a console, though. Think about that. Metroid Prime 4. Here, kids. Like, what? Oh, here's a new Nintendo console, Metroid Prime 4. It's kind of
but just maybe this is a little bit pie in the sky. But what if it was like Metroid Prime 4 and a new mainline 3D Mario game on launch day? Like how how fucking knock down the door would that be? I don't think Metroid Prime 4 would be like the big release that would go out with it, because they know what the audience is.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, look, that's why they tried to launch Wii U with New Super Mario Brothers U. Like, I understand why they wanted to do that. It was really, really embarrassing, but at least I understand why they wanted to do that, right? Because it's like, we can't just have Nintendo Land or whatever. Like, we gotta do something, you know? And they did, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, interesting question. I hope this trend, as you say, I still have not played Pikmin 4. I gotta get to it.
Or Nintendo Land.
Or Nintendo Land. I played Nintendo Land at that kiosk in Best Buy in 2012, just like everyone else did. Okay.
Okay.
All right. It was great. It's the best kiosk game of all time. All right.
What about Splatoon against the bots? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I only did tutorial and single player. I didn't do bots. Okay, Kevin.
I do. There's another big question. I think this definitively counts as a big question. Steve, this is a music question, but you're not going to sleep this time. I feel like your participation is just as valid and necessary as Andre's. I want you guys to tell me who you think the most influential musical artist of our time has been. Now, I know, maybe our time is a stretch, Andre, because your our time, extends a little bit beyond me and Steve's.
No, I'll pick our time.
We're talking in the collective whole. So I think we should get Steve to go first. I'm going to go last because I've already had a whole bunch of time to think about this.
I have an answer already. I mean, this is a very easy
Good
answer.
Andre should answer because I got nothing.
Oh, come on. Come on. Really? Okay, nothing. Fine. You sit there and think about it. And what I'm about to say, I don't think can be argued against, and I'm sure people will, and that's fine, but like, I have no idea how anyone could say any answer other than Michael Jackson. I really do not know how it's possible to say anything else. Like, okay, Taylor Swift is hot shit right now. She has like the biggest tour ever in the history of like music right now, right? The video of her concert is doing numbers at the box office right now as we record this. It's crazy what she's doing. She's not even a tenth of Michael Jackson. Neither is Beyonce. Neither is anybody else, man. Michael Jackson existed on a plane of existence. Like, you guys have seen the old concert footage, especially from like the Dangerous tour, where like people are straight up passing out in like have you guys ever seen this stuff? Like,
I haven't.
People are fainting. The man just rose up from the floor in the concert, and he's just standing there. He hasn't even sang a note yet. People are hyperventilating and screaming and passing out. Like, it is insane. And that's not just for show. Like, that shit really happened. That's what a sensation that guy was. There will never be anything like that for a number of reasons, mainly because of the way media is fragmented nowadays. We're not all watching the same 3 channels that we used to, etc. There's a million reasons why, right? But Kevin, I don't know. It's got to be Michael Jackson.
Let me challenge this for a moment. Does mass phenomenon necessarily translate to influential?
That was the culmination of his influence. I would say, was that hysteria about it, especially at that time, but still a pre-internet time, still a time where like music videos, you guys probably don't remember this. They used to premiere Michael Jackson music videos on like network TV. I would watch an episode of like Fresh Prince or whatever. Oh, we're after Fresh Prince, we're going to show the music video for Michael Jackson's, Black or White or whatever the new single was. That was crazy. People didn't usually get that shit before or since. That's how, man, it's tough. And if you just want to talk music, yeah, of course. Like, just like how Michael Jackson's music as just the ultimate pop music was the culmination of a very big number of things, which is why it appealed to just about every single human on planet Earth. Everyone had a Michael Jackson song they like if they weren't just a fan. Yeah, you can hear that throughout music too. And I'll leave it with this. And these aren't my words. This is someone else's, but before him, you looked up to rock stars. You looked up to, I want to be the Rolling Stones. I want to be whatever. Our generation was, I want to be Michael Jackson, or I want to be Madonna, or something like that. Right? If you want to take it to someone else, it was pop music. It wasn't like guys with guitars. And I feel like it's not that wasn't important anymore. It's just that like it was a paradigm shift that happened. In another world, Justin Timberlake would have, like, obviously his biggest influence is Michael Jackson. You can see it all over his music, right? In another world, he would have been another type of artist, but it's him. It's our generation like that hit guys and people like him our age that was like, no, that's Michael Jackson is it. I'm sorry I'm talking so much. It's just that like I really feel
that is interesting. It was definitely, yeah, I guess when you talk about the paradigm shift, and that was kind of the rise of pop as the most popular music genre culturally.
Yes, totally. Yeah, I'm trying to think of another. I mean, like, do you have an answer, Kevin? I mean, like, do you have someone else you might like to say?
I do have an answer.
Okay.
All right. Now here is actually, not to be a dick, where your and my generations may show a little bit of difference. Okay. My answer was Eminem for a couple of reasons. I think when Eminem really blew up, I can't think of a time in my life where I have seen one artist be so ubiquitous amongst everybody. And especially, so I grew up in a rural area of Alberta, Canada, right? So there was a good mix of people from different lifestyles around that I was interacting with. And I felt like I think that it permeated every kind of lifestyle to some degree. I think everybody knew who he was. I think everybody knew the music. And I think it's really interesting to me when we look in hindsight from around that time at some of the, other artists that were really, really making parents upset, or that you would maybe consider like a shock artist, with Marilyn Manson, Insane Clown Posse, kind of stuff like that. None of those, there's definitely still fans of that kind of music, but I think it's really commonly thought of as snapshot in time, or it's almost like a throwback to listen to those artists. And I feel like, millennials in modern day have a lot of respect for Eminem. It's looked at as like a classical part of music to some degree at this point. And I do think it really like permanently shifted, not even just in music, but in like pop culture in general, what was socially acceptable. And for some people added some credibility to say something really shocking and being able to like put meaning, or like try to put meaning behind it. And I think even myself, I'll certainly listen to Eminem. It's not, I think there's more reverence for Eminem from a lot of people my generation than I have. But I just think when I think of like the term influential, that's where my mind goes.
It's up there. He is definitely up there. Especially you could argue, since that like hip hop is the most dominating force of music, I would say in the last decade or so. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to take it that way, sure. Not that he, popularized hip hop, but I think you know what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
You know how I knew Eminem was on another level? And I think you'll understand what I mean. It was, I don't even know how to say it. The reverse white privilege that he had. I'll explain what I mean. So like he, look, back then rappers said all sorts of manners of shit. Remember he used to get in trouble for saying the F word slur for gay people or, whatever, like in his raps. Every rapper said that shit. It wasn't just Eminem, right? But like it was, everyone was focused on Eminem saying that. Gee, I wonder why that was, right? Like people weren't used to this white dude coming out here and saying stuff like that, And I remember before that first record came, the Slim Shady LP, the one from 1999, I think, right? His first record. Before that came out, I remember I read something on like MTV.com or wherever I got music news at the time saying like people are taking controversy to, Eminem's lyrics on this upcoming record or whatever, because my name had already blown up. So everyone knew who he was. Mm-hmm. So the record was going to come out and people are saying, well, there's a song about killing his wife and there's this song about taking shrooms and there's this, and I'm like, sounds like a rap record to me. I don't know what we're, like this just sounds like standard practice. I mean, it's not real, guys. I mean, it's fine, but like the
I think because a lot of the problem was this is the first time that music had landed in like white suburban kids' homes in a lot of cases.
Yes. And Eminem knew it. And that's why he's great. He knew it from the very get-go. He's like, why do you think you're so controversial for saying the same thing as other guys? It's like, because I look like their kids now. I look like their little Tommy or like whatever. You know what I mean? Like now I look like them. Mm-hmm. I'm not just, he didn't literally say I'm not a black dude coming out here saying whatever, but basically that's what he was trying to say, and he was right. And the influence of that can't be overstated. So yeah, Eminem is obviously very influential. It's not Michael Jackson for me, but it definitely, you're right. It's if we're going to talk just hip hop for sure, I think that's undeniable.
I think one thing that almost makes me want to walk that, or while I was thinking about this, that like makes me mentally walk the opinion back a little bit is I think that something that's like so important to his music is the music, right? And so much of that is Dr. Dre, and I feel like there is a like small part of me that's a little bit salty that like it feels like Dr. Dre almost like gets forgotten about for a lot of like mainstream culture, like in context of Eminem's music.
Yeah. Kind of. That's why did you catch that Dr. Dre Super Bowl halftime show a couple years ago? Like it was the fucking best. It was so good.
I just watched that on YouTube again like 3 weeks ago, actually.
It was so good. And part of the reason why it was so good is because it was such a flex of his to have all these artists out here and perform all those songs. And it's like, I did all this shit. Whether it's Eminem, whether it's Mary J. Blige, whether it's Snoop, whether it's whoever, right? Like he did that shit. Whether it's Kendrick Lamar, it was crazy, And I was so happy for him in that moment. It's like he really just got to flex that.
Yeah. Even the way that show was structured, you could tell that they were like paying homage to Dr. Dre, right? They wasn't, there was definitely a point where Eminem came out and it was like, that was part of the highlight of the show, but it wasn't, they weren't like putting Eminem at the top billing of that show. They, not that it wasn't Dr. Dre that kind of ran the show to begin with, but he was at the top of the ladder for sure there.
For sure. We're going to get out of here. I have a really quick question, though, before we do. And it's not something I really talk about. I don't think I've ever said this out loud, actually. But I'm going to say it out loud for the first time. Guys, I hate the term hack and slash. We're talking about video games. I can't stand it. It's bad. It has a bad mouthfeel, first of all. Hack and slash. I hate it. I also think it's a terrible descriptor for a genre. Just say action game. Why are we hacking and slashing?
Hack and slash. I just had to try out the mouthfeel. It feels fine to me.
I don't like it, Steve.
While I don't hate the mouthfeel, I hate actually applying it to anything because what are we talking about? Are we talking about Zelda? Are we talking about Infinity Blade? What are we hacking and slashing? It could be anything.
Dynasty Warriors?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Literally anything. Anything where you're hacking and slashing. A bunch of jackasses. That's who came up with that.
Wow. We don't have to insult the entire hack and slash community. I'm just saying.
You did a whole podcast that everyone should listen to where you insulted Metroidvania, so I don't want to hear it.
It is funny. I have in my like makeshift like working notes for Mario Wonder in my phone, I do have a phrase typed out that says, "Welcome to Kevin's dissertation on why Mario Wonder is a," but I decided not to push the envelope
fucking
tonight.
God. Okay, we gotta. I feel like in the tradition of the show, I'm gonna bleep it now when Kevin says it. So that one's gonna be gone. Okay, let's get the hell out of here. We've talked enough today. Great questions, everybody. Follow us on Twitter at FindTime Podcast. Look in the description of this podcast to find our personal accounts on Blue Sky. See you next time. Bye.
We'll see you next time on Fine Time.